The opening prayer is on page 140 of this book, The Universal Prayers. The last one on that page, third one. This is from the Devi Mahatmyam. Om Tvam Vaishnavi Shaktiranantavirya Vishwasya Bijam Paramasimaya Sammohitam Devi Samastametat Tvam Mai Prasanna Bhuvimukti Hetu. Om, O Divine Mother, you are the great primal energy, the source of infinite strength. You are the seed of the world, an illusion divine. You have enchanted the whole universe, O Goddess Supreme, by your deluding charms. And yet, being propitious, you bestow salvation upon devotees. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. May there be peace everywhere in nature. Now we begin a new topic in chapter 6. Very interesting topic. Before I do, I sometimes repeat some things because I think those are very important for us to assimilate and remember and practice. The preceding topic that we studied was Arjuna's question on how to control the mind. That is the most important topic. We all have to deal with it every day. So we studied it, but I just going to make a brief reference to it. Arjuna's question was in verses 33, 34. So I won't read the question. The right question was how to control the mind. It is so difficult, just like trying to control the wind. And the answer that Sri Krishna gave is the main point. That's the one we have to repeatedly study, remember, assimilate, and practice. And that's in verse number 35. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena ta Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Grihyate. Bhagavan Sri Krishna first of all acknowledges that it is difficult to control the mind. It does not dismiss the question, oh, it can be done like that. He says, yes, Arjuna, it is indeed very difficult to control the mind because it is very unsteady, chalam. However, you see the word tu in the second line, tu, however, it can be controlled, grihyate, last word, grihyate can be controlled. How? Two things have to be done. These are very important. One is abhyasa, another one is vairagya. Abhyasena ta kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. Abhyasa, how to do, was explained in verse 26. As many times as the mind goes away from the topic of meditation, chapter 6, verse 26. So many times, patiently, repeatedly, bring it back and make it dwell on the subject of meditation. That applies to everything, not only meditation. Even when you're doing household chores, you're cooking, and then if you're not concentrating, we don't know whether we put salt or not because mind was wandering and we didn't notice. So that kind of difficulty due to mind wandering happens in any activity, in our professional work, in household work, in Vedanta, spiritual practice. So we have to do practice, abhyasa. Yato yato nischarati manaha chanchalam asthiram 626. Tatastato niyamyetat atmanyeva vasham nayet. Bring it back as many times as it goes away, repeatedly, and make it dwell on the subject of meditation or whatever we are doing at that moment. Second thing is vairagyena, by vairagya. Vairagya means we should ask ourselves why my mind is going there. Because I was interested in that topic. I've thought about that topic. I've enjoyed thinking about it before. So the mind goes there naturally. I've allowed the mind to think about it freely before. Now, suddenly, if I say I don't want to think about it, the mind will not easily listen. So we have to develop detachment. We should tell the mind, I am no longer interested in that topic. So I don't want to think about it anymore. So developing detachment, inward detachment. So that is verse number 35, one of the most important verses in the Gita. Now Arjuna's next question comes in verse number 37. Here he asks the question in one question in three shlokas, 37, 38, 39. He takes three verses to ask one question. Later on, when you go to chapter 8, you will notice that in two shlokas, he has 7 questions. But this question is so important to him that he's taking 3 verses to ask that question. So the question is, what happens after death? Something that we are all interested to know. So let us read the question. Verse number 37, 38, 39. I read all of them together. It's all one question. Arjuna uvacha ayati shraddhayopeto yogat chalitamaanasaha aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim krishna gacchati kachinno bhayavibrashtaschinna bramiva nashyati apratishto mahabaho vimudo brahmana pati etanme samshayam krishna chetumarhasya sheshataha padanyas samshayasyasya chetana hipapadyate. So Arjuna asks in verse 37, ayatihi. Yatati, yatna means putting effort, trying to do something. Yatna, prayatna, swaprayatna. Ayati is a person who does not try hard enough. He tries to some extent, but not hard enough to reach the goal. Takes it easy. Sadhaya upetaha. He is endowed with faith, all right. He has faith that if he pursues this spiritual path, he will reach the goal of realization, that he is convinced, but does not work hard enough. To some extent he works, but then takes it easy. Yoga chalitamanasaha. From yogat, chalitamanasa means mind strays away to worldly objects. He sits down for meditation. After a short time, he gets up and does something else. That type of person, yoga chalitamanas, whose mind strays away from yoga. Yoga samsiddhim aprapya. Yoga samsiddhi means success in yoga, culminating in realization. Yoga samsiddhim aprapya, not reaching culmination, success in yoga. Such a person, ayatihi, kam gatim gacchati. What happens to him? Where does he go? Where does he end up? So that is the question, one part of the question. Then verse number 38, continuation of the same question. Kachinno vaya vibhrashtaha chinnabhramiva nashyati ubhaya vibhrashtaha. Ubhaya means both. Vibhrashta means not succeeding, fallen off from the goal. Vibhrashtaha. Fallen off from both, ubhaya, from both. What are the two things from which he falls off, which fails to achieve? It says in the commentary, ubhaya vibhrashtaha karma margat yoga margat. There are two paths available to us that we studied in the third chapter. Karma yogena yoginam, jnana yogena sankhyanam. Like that, there was one verse number 3 in chapter 3, where Bhagavan Shri Krishna said, in this world there are two paths available to spiritual seekers. Lokesmin vividha nishtha pura prokta mayanaga. O Arjuna, by me, two paths were mentioned before. What are they? Jnana yogena sankhyanam. Jnana yoga, for those who want to inquire, path of inquiry, vichara. Karma yogena yoginam, for those who are active, karma yoga is the path. So this person, this who did not try hard enough, about whom you are speaking, ubhaya vibhrashtaha means from both paths he falls off. He neither succeeds in doing the karma yoga properly, nor does he succeed in, nor does he energetically pursue jnana yoga, which is even more difficult. So such a person who fails to pursue either of these two paths, ubhaya vibhrashtaha, what happens to him? Apratishtaha. Apratishta means not established in where? Brahmana pathi, in the path of Brahman. In the path leading to Brahman, he is not well established. He wavers, does not put in 100% effort. Such a person, vimudaha, is confounded, deluded. His mind goes back and forth between yoga, spiritual practice, and worldly interest. Such a person, what happens to such a person? That is the question. Then the question continues in verse number 39. Arjuna explains the question nicely in 3 verses. Verse 39, Etanme samshayam Krishna, O Krishna, this is my samshaya, this is my doubt. Samshaya means doubt. This is my doubt. What happens to such a person? Asheshataha chetum arhasi. Asheshata means completely. Shesha means remainder, something remaining. Asheshata means without anything remaining, completely, clearly, without leaving out anything. Completely, asheshataha chetum arhasi. You can solve this problem completely. You can answer this, clear this doubt completely. Chetum arhasi asheshataha. Then he says, Tvadanyaha, other than you. Anya means somebody else, something else. Tvadanyaha asya samshayasya cheta. Anyone who can clear this doubt. Cheta means one who can clear the doubt. Some of us of this doubt. Asya samshayasya cheta. Nahi upapadyate. There is no other person other than you who can clear this doubt. That is what Arjuna is asking. Now the answer comes. The answer comes in the next 4 or 5 slokas. Very interesting answer. Very encouraging answer also. Sri Bhagavan Vacha, sloka number 40. Parthanai Vedanamutra Vinashastasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Krit Kaschit Durgatim Tata Gacchati. Very nice idea. First of all, Sri Krishna gives assurance. Nothing bad will happen to such a person. He may not have reached the goal, but nothing bad will happen to such a person. So here, verse number 40, Partha or Arjuna, na iha na amutra. Iha means in this world, in this life. Amutra means in the next world or next life, wherever we go after death. Na iha na amutra, neither here nor in the next life, neither in this world nor in the next world. Tasya vinashaha vidyate. Na is there. Na eva iha naiveha. It has three words in it. Na eva iha. That na has to be combined with vidyate. Na vidyate. Vinashaha na vidyate. Nothing bad will happen to such a person. Vinasha means loss of everything. Will not lose everything. And then second line, verse number 40. Nahi kalyana krit kaschid durgatim tata gacchati. Word of great assurance. Kalyana krit means a person who does good deeds, auspicious deeds. Some devotional spiritual practice a person does. May not be enough to take us to the goal, but something that person does. Reading some scriptures and doing some japa, repetition of God's name, chanting some hymns, Sahasranama, and other hymns, some puja, worship, etc. A person does. These are all kalyana karma. Kalyana karma means auspicious deeds. Kalyana krit, a person who does such auspicious deeds, nahi kalyana krit, durgatim nagachati. Tata means, Tata has different meanings. Tata means father, Tata means son also. Why Krishna calls Arjuna Tata? In some South Indian language, Tata means grandfather. So here, why Krishna calls Arjuna Tata? They were friends. So still he calls him Tata, here means son. Son, not in a biological sense. Here it says, Sheshyopi putravat iti aputropi tata uchati. His disciple is considered by the teacher as a son. That used to be the practice in ancient times. Father used to be the teacher, son used to be the student, as we see in the case of Shvetaketu Uddalaka. But now, even if the student is not actually son, biological son, a teacher should consider him as his own son. That means treat him with great love and tenderness. The teacher should treat this student with tenderness and love as if he were his own son. That's why he calls him Tata. O Tata, O son Arjuna, Kalyana Krit Durgatim Nagachati. Kaschit Kalyana Krit. Any person who does any good deed, any kind of good deed, will never encounter evil. Durgati means evil. Will never encounter. Even if it is a small deed, good deed, it will produce the result unfailingly. Now that is the first answer. One answer. O Arjuna, neither in this world nor in the world to come does he come to ruin. He will not perish. He will not encounter evil. For no evil betides the doer of good, my son. Betides means comes. To a doer of good deeds, no evil will come. Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. That is one first part of the answer. Then more details are given. What happens? First thing is, now nothing bad will happen. That is clear. Then what else will happen, might happen? Two possibilities are given. So let us see verse number 41. One possibility is he will be born in a well-to-do family of pure people. That is verse number 41. Prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashwati samah shuchinam srimatam gehe yoga brashto bhijayate. Very encouraging word, promising news. It is punyakritam lokan shashwati samaha ushitva. Samaha means samvatsara, years. Shashwati Sama means a large number of years, very long time. Ushitva, having lived. Nivasa, Vasa, Ushitva, having lived for a very long time, for many years, where Punyakritan Lokan Prapya. Loka means some other world. Like this is the world we are familiar with, human world, where human beings, animals, plants reside. Like this, there are other worlds where gods live, Indra and other people live, where Pitrus live. Pitru means departed ancestors. They have their own loka. And another loka where Gandharvas live. Then another loka where Siddhas, Yakshas, all other beings live. So there are so many lokas. So there is one loka where those who have done very good deeds have gone and they are staying there. Punyakritam lokan ushitva. Punyakrit means people who have done meritorious deeds, punya karma, those who have done. For example, what kind of punya karma is explained in the commentary. Shankara says, punyakritam ashwamedhadiyajinam lokan. In earlier days, people used to do various kinds of Vedic sacrifices. And these Vedic sacrifices were done with to achieve a certain purpose. They are all kamya karma. Kamya karma means one expecting some result to do some work. These Vedic yoga sacrifices were of that nature. They wanted something to achieve that, they will do some particular yaga or karma. Those things are described in the Vedas. For example, you remember the story of Dasharatha. Dasharatha was a king and he had 3 wives, but still he didn't have any children. And a king has to have at least one son, so he can hand over the kingdom to the son and go to the forest for vanaprastha. That was the custom those days. So Dasharatha wanted at least one son. So he asks his teachers, Vasishtha and others, they advise him to do a particular Vedic yajna to get a son. There are yajnas like that. If you want a son, you have to do this one. If you want to build a bigger kingdom, you want to vanquish your enemies. If you want a long life, then you have to do this one. This like specific for a specific purposes. Vedic yajnas are there. Nowadays, people don't do that one. They do something similar, but not Vedic yajnas. So what does Dasharatha do? He performs putra kamishti. Ishti is a kind of Vedic yajna. Putra kama means wanting a son. So to get a son, there is a particular kind of Vedic yajna that Dasharatha did. So he got sons, Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrugna, 4 sons. That way, those who perform Vedic yajnas like that, Punyakratam Loka, they go to certain loka to enjoy the result of their good deeds, like Swarga, heaven, they will go to heaven. So this person goes to one of those lokas, Prapya Punyakartam Lokan, Prapya, having gone there, Shashwati Samaha Ushitva, stays there for a very long time, as long as the punya lasts. Then what happens? Shuchina, after finishing that tenure in that loka, stay in that loka, he will come back to human world because goal of realization has not been achieved. So he has to come back, Punarjanma. Then where does he come back? In what kind of family is he going to be born? Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe. Sriman means wealthy person. Srimatam Gehe. Geha means house. House. In the house of wealthy people, Shuchinam, they are very pure people, people of very good character, educated people, well-to-do people. In such a family, that person will be reborn. Yoga Brashta Abhijayate, you will be reborn. That Yoga Brashta means a person who fell from yoga without reaching the goal. Such a person will stay in some Swargaloka, some heaven, enjoys the result of his good deeds for a long time. Then when that ends, comes back to human world and is born in a family of pure and wealthy people, where the environment is conducive to spiritual progress. If he is born in a very poor family, then there is a struggle for basic needs. How to do spiritual practice. Every meal, how to get next meal. If that is the question every day, then how can you do meditation, japa, etc.? Not possible. So wealthy family, where he can do without having to worry about basic needs, he can do spiritual practice. That is one possibility. Second possibility is explained in the next verse. Athava, verse number 42. अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरं लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्. Even better possibility, better than being born in a rich family of pure people. Athava, or yoginam kule, dhimatam yoginam kule. Dhiman means, dhi means intellect, buddhi. Dhiman means a very intelligent person, very strong intellect. Dhimatam yoginam kule. In a family, kula means a family, dynasty. In the family of very intelligent yogis. Very intelligent yogis, a powerful intellect. Everybody is practicing yoga in such a family, all intelligent people. What can be better than that? Dhimatam yoginam kule bhavati. Bhavati means it takes birth. Either in the family of well-to-do, sattvic, pure people, or in the family of very intelligent yogis. Such a person will be reborn. Then 42, second line, etadhi durlabhataram loke janma yadidrisham. Etat hi janma, this kind of birth, being born in a rich and sattvic people, pure people in the family, or in a family of intelligent yogis, such a birth, etadhi janma, this kind of birth, loke, in this world, durlabhataram, idrusham means this kind of birth, idrusham janma, this kind of birth, durlabhataram is very difficult to get. If a person is born in a very poor family, or in a family of tamasic people who have no interest in spiritual life, then what can you do? That whole life will be wasted. But this person will be born in such a family where the environment is conducive to further spiritual progress from where he left off in the previous birth. That's what happens to a person who strives but not succeeds to get realization in this life. Very encouraging answer. Now the next verse, verse number 43. Then what happens? After being born in such a good family, what will happen to the spiritual life? Is explained in verse number 43. Tatratam buddhi samyogam labate paurvadehikam yatate chatato bhuyah samsiddhau kurunandana. Kurunandana means Arjuna. Tatra, in that family of pure people, wealthy people or intelligent yogis in such a family, tatra paurvadehikam buddhi samyogam labhate. Purvadeha means previous body. Purvadeha means previous body, previous birth. Paurvadehikam, whatever he was doing, he or she was doing in the previous birth, in terms of spiritual practice, meditation, japa, worship, whatever he was doing. Paurvadehikam buddhi samyogam labhate. Buddhi samyoga means contact with the previous spiritual practice. Wherever he had left off, at whatever point he had left off, from that point onwards, he will continue his spiritual journey, his or her spiritual journey. That means whatever he had done, he or she had done, will not have to be done again. It's cumulative. That's the most promising positive news in our Sanatana Dharma. No waste of spiritual effort. Even a little bit is done, will be saved, and from there on you will add to it, cumulative. Nothing will be lost. Actually, we hadn't studied this one earlier in the second chapter. You may not remember because it was so long ago. In the second chapter, Sri Krishna had already said that in spiritual life, there is no loss of effort. Even if you do 108 repetition, one mala japa every day, it's not enough to take us to realization. But that's all a person does. But even that little bit a person does will not be wasted. It will not go in waste. It will be saved. It will produce result. Result it produces may not be much, but it does produce the result. It will not be lost at all. That positive message was given in the second chapter. I don't know if you remember. Sloka number 40 to second chapter 40, sloka number. There Sri Krishna had given the same message. There he had said, Neha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate salpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. In this spiritual life, there is no loss of effort, there is no adverse reaction. Sometimes in worldly life, you do something, instead of succeeding, we fail, and then it produces more problem than before. That won't happen in spiritual life. Whatever little we do, that will be saved and it will not be lost. It will produce result, if not now, in the next birth. So that comes in verse number 43. Tatra, in that next life, in the family of rich Sattvic people, or in the family of intelligent yogi, tatra paurvadehikam buddhi samyogam labhate. He regains the spiritual practice done in the previous birth. Regains means remembers whatever he had done in the previous birth, which was not enough, but he had done quite a bit. From that point onwards, tataha, you will see the word tataha in the second line. Tataha bhuyaha samsiddhau yatate. Bhuya means again. From that point onwards, where he had left off his spiritual practice in the previous birth, again he will strive for liberation. Samsiddhau. Samsiddhi means liberation. Moksha. Yatate, he strives, begins to start serious spiritual effort. Samsiddhau bhuyaha means again. He starts again a spiritual journey from where he had left off in the previous birth. That means whatever had been done in previous birth was saved, will be saved, and that serves as the starting point for this next birth. That's a very positive message. Then we go to verse number 44. The same theme continues. Purvabhyasena tenaiva kriyate hyavashopi saha Jignasurapi yogasya Shabda Brahmati Vartate. Though not a master of himself, Avashaha means without control, as if automatically. Avashaha Purvabhyasena, by the force of previous practice, previous spiritual practice done in the previous birth. Tenaiva Purvabhyasena Hriyate, he will be attracted. Hriyate means he will be attracted to spiritual life in the same way he was in the previous life. Jignasu yogasya, even if he is interested in yoga, jignasu means one who wants to know knowledge, one who has knowledge of yoga. Yogasya jignasu api, though he is interested in yoga, Shabda Brahma Ativartate. Ativartate means he will transcend all the Vedic rituals. He won't be dragged down to the Kamya Karma. Though he may have done it in the previous birth, he will not go back to that one. Kamya Yoga, Shabda Brahma means the Vedic rituals described in the Vedas, most of which are Kamya Karma, to achieve some specific goal, that he will not get involved in it. He is interested in spiritual realization, not in getting this or that benefit. For example, kings used to do something called Rajasuya Yoga or Ashwamedha Yoga. That means they would send a horse very nicely decorated with a little small army to all the kingdoms. The king to whose army this horse would go either had to fight and challenge the king, or he had to accept this king as the superior ruler and pay homage to him. What kind of things are people were doing, kings were doing before? No, this person will not get involved in those things. He does not get involved in doing some Vedic yajna to get the children or to get a long life or to go to heaven. He has had it all. So the Ativartate means transcends, overcomes. Does not get involved in Kamya Karma. Then we go to the next one. 45. Prayatnadyatamaanastu yogi samsiddha kilbishah aneka janma samsiddhastato yati param gatim. Very interesting idea comes here. Prayatnad yatamana. Yatamana means a person who strives hard with great effort. Prayatnad yatamana. Yogi, a yogi who this time the person is more serious because he remembers the previous time he did not succeed. This time he will put in maximum effort, does not slacken, as we read last time. Prayatna yatamanaha, yogi who works very hard, samsiddha kilvishaha. Kilvisha means all the impurities of the mind. That we know. Lust, anger, greed, kama, krodha, lobha, etc. Those are the hindrances to spiritual life. This person is not hampered by that impurities of the mind. Samshuddha kilvishaha. His mind has become pure. Does not allow his mind to go into worldly objects, which we read last time. That learned lesson. Samshuddha kilvishaha means a person who has practiced purity of mind. Supreme goal, strive for. Aneka janma samsiddha. After striving like this for many births, this may be the last birth, there may be one more birth, but very close to the goal. Aneka janma samsiddha. After striving for many lifetimes, Tataha yogi param gatim yati. Yogi goes to this, reaches the supreme goal. Param gatim is supreme goal means realization. Merging with Brahman, if one is a jnani, or achieving pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti, if one is a devotee. Both are same. Some people prefer pure devotion over liberation. Some people want liberation and not strive for pure devotion. Both we have seen, both models we have seen. People like Hanuman and Sri Ramakrishna, they didn't want liberation. They say, Sri Ramakrishna said to Divine Mother, I don't want Brahma Jnana. Brahma Jnana means only Brahman, pure consciousness. No you, no me, no Divine Mother, no devotee, no child, no mother. That Sri Ramakrishna didn't want. He wanted the duality to be maintained. The God is the Divine Mother, my mother, and I am her child. Panchavarsha Bala Bhava, like 5-year-old child. I want that, he said. He said, give Brahmajnana to those who are seeking. I want only to be your child. Same thing, Hanuman. When Sri Rama asked him what Hanuman likes to have, Hanuman said, I don't want liberation. Because if you give me Brahmajnana, then the separation will go away. There is no Rama, there is no Hanuman, there is no Prabhu, there is no Dasa. Bhavan Prabhu, Aham Dasa, iti yatra vilupyate, Hanuman says to Sri Rama. I don't want liberation because the separation will not be there. That you are the Lord, Bhavan Prabhu, you are my Lord, Prabhu, Aham Dasa, I am your servant. Iti bhedaha yatra vilupyate, this separation will not be there. All pure consciousness, Brahman. Not interested. I want to be separate from you. Worship you, serve you. So that is their choice. But some people don't want, they want only pure Brahma Jnana. They don't want the separation. That is everybody's choice. So whatever is one's choice, that is paragati. Paramgatim yati. Person reaches that goal. Person has in mind the person will reach when aneka janma samsiddhaha, after striving for many births. It may not happen in one birth, it may happen. It may take several births. It depends on where we are in our spiritual journey. Sri Ramakrishna said, this very encouraging news. Sri Ramakrishna said, those who come here, this is their last birth. You may have read it somewhere, I read it somewhere. Those who come here means to him. Those who come here, this is their last birth. He said that one. So those who have gone to Sri Ramakrishna, taken his name, of worshipping him, devoted to him, repeat his name, this will be their last birth. That means a lot of work has been done before. That's when we go to Sri Ramakrishna. Many people are not drawn to Sri Ramakrishna because the time has not come. The time comes, he will pull them. That is when realization comes. So verse number 45, the yogi who strives hard and who has been perfected in the course of many lives, many lifetimes, attains a supreme goal, paramgatim yati. All his sins having been washed away. Some shuddha kilbisha, mind has become pure. All the evil deeds that he or she may have done will have been washed away. How to wash away the evil effect of, how to wash away the impure impressions we have gathered by doing bad deeds? That we have to know at this point. Some Shuddha Kilbishaha in verse number 45. One has to make the mind pure before we can reach the highest goal. If there is a trace of impurity left in the mind, then that will be an obstruction. Now, question is how to purify the mind so that we can achieve liberation or pure devotion, whatever is our goal. There are many different things to do, to be done. Sri Ramakrishna has given several instructions on how to purify the mind. The first instruction he has given is to repeat God's name. constantly repetition of God's name. This is called Nama Smaranam, or it's also called Mantra Yoga. Mantra Yoga means repeating the mantra. That itself is the main and only spiritual practice. You don't have to do anything else. You don't need to study the scriptures and go on pilgrimage and do charity, and not necessary. Repeat God's name or mantra constantly. That purifies the mind. God's name is the most effective purifying agent, purifier. Nothing more effective than that. That is one instruction Sri Ramakrishna gave. Second instruction Sri Ramakrishna gave is chant God's names and glories. God's glories are described in various hymns, stotras, and various devotional songs composed by numerous saints in all parts of the country, in all centuries, in all languages. It can be in any language. It does not have to be only in Sanskrit. Chanting some hymn or singing devotional songs or listening to devotional songs. If you can't chant, you can listen to devotional songs. Nowadays, it is so easy. Wherever you go, you have this a cell phone you can put on and listen to the chanting of hymns. So it has become easier now with modern technology. Then third thing Sri Ramakrishna said was, pray in solitude. Ekaki rahasi stitaha, we saw earlier in the 6th chapter. Every day, for some time at least, once or twice, preferably at least twice, morning and evening, at sunrise and sunset, you have to sit down in solitude and pray to God in our own way. You can do japa, you can do meditation, you can chant hymns, you can repeat God's, whatever you want to do, in solitude. Like this, he has given many instructions. The fourth instruction he gave is, perform all your duties as worship. As this is in the Gita many places. Sri Krishna has said many places, whatever work you do it as an offering to me. Many places Sri Krishna has said in the Gita, whatever work we do, any kind of work, it may be household work, it may be professional work, it may be any kind of work. Whatever we do should be done as an offering, as worship. One key shloka, I have mentioned it many times, is in the 18th chapter, verse number 46. That alone is sufficient to take us to the highest goal. There are many instructions like that in the Gita. Just one instruction, if you do it thoroughly, will take us to the goal. Ram Gatim Yati. What is that one? Whatever work we do should be done as worship. Where that is mentioned, Shloka 46, chapter 18. Very important shloka. We'll come to that later, much later. But you can make, if you wish, you can make a note of that one. There, Sri Krishna has said, Swakarmana tamabhyarchya siddhim vindati madavaha. Second line. Swakarmana, by our own karma. We don't have to change our karma. Whatever work you are doing, continue to do that work. But do it as worship. Abhyartam abhyarcha, worshipping him by doing our own work as worship. You don't have to do any separate kind of worship. Our work is the worship. Whatever it may be. There may be a janitor cleaning the place, or there may be a professor teaching, there may be a doctor treating paid, there may be a bank worker serving the customer, whoever, whatever. There may be a mother cooking, cleaning, taking care of children, whatever work. Swakarma, one's duty. By doing one's duty as worship, tamabhyarcha, worshipping him, the Lord, what happens? Manavaha, a human being, siddhim vindati, achieves perfection. Siddhi means purity of mind, which leads to realization. Like that, many instructions are given. So coming back, he was discussing samshuddha kilbishaha in verse number 45. When a person succeeds in purifying the mind by many of these practices, then what happens? Param gatim yati. You reach supreme goal of realization. It may take several lifetimes. Aneka janma samsiddha. Now, how to understand this one? Why does it take more than one life? Why can't we do it in this life? It depends upon how much work remains to be done. So in this spiritual practice, there is no loss of effort. Nothing will be lost. Everything will be saved. To understand this one, I have given earlier this example of a long distance road journey. Supposing you are in Boston and you want to go to Los Angeles. Then you decide to drive. You can take a flight and go in 6 hours. But you decide to go by road because it's not safe to travel by plane these days. But you want to reach the Los Angeles in one day. So what happens? One day you start morning, first day morning you start from Boston. You come up to say Philadelphia, 8 hours drive. Philadelphia, when you come, then it is night and you can't drive anymore. You stay in a friend's house or in a motel somewhere. Next morning, second morning, when you get up, from where do you start? Not from Boston, but from Philadelphia. The distance from Boston to Philadelphia traveled in the first day, that is saved. Next day's travel is cumulative. It adds to that one. No need to repeat that distance. Once covered is covered. The next day you drive from Philadelphia to Cleveland. Then Cleveland you stay in a friend's house, relative's house, or in a motel. Third day morning when you start from Cleveland, not from Boston, not from Philadelphia. So like this, if you travel day after day, fifth day or sixth day, you'll reach Los Angeles. Every day, whatever you travel is added to whatever you traveled in the previous days. That is exactly what happens in spiritual life. In every life, you make some progress. Whatever progress you make in each life, that will be the starting point for the next life. So everything is cumulative, no wastage of effort. That is the positive news that Sri Krishna gives in this verse. So there are two more verses. These are easier, simpler. 46th verse. Tapasvibhyo dhiko yogi jnanibhyopi mato dhikaha karmibhyascha dhiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. In this verse, Sri Krishna praises the path of meditation. Yoga here means meditation. Up to chapter 5, yoga meant karma yoga. Chapter 6, yoga means dhyana yoga. Like that. In the chapter 8, other yoga means meditation on Parabrahman. Depends the context. Tapasvibhyo dhiko yogi. Tapasvi means a person who does austerities. Austerities such as fasting and standing in water and doing japa, all those kinds of things. They produce limited result. A yogi who does meditation on Parabrahman, Supreme Self, superior to such a person who does these kinds of austerities. Jnani bhyopi matodika. Jnani here means Shastra Pandityam, scriptural knowledge in a theoretical way. Studying scriptures, memorizing slokas, explaining the commentary, Shankara's commentary, Ramanuja's commentary, that kind of scholarship is of not much use. Yogi who does meditation is superior to that. Karmipyastadiko yogi. Karmi means a person who does kamya karma, like all those Vedic yajnas, Satyanarayana Vrata, asking for somebody is sick, you pray to God to remove sickness. That we will see in the next chapter, why people worship God. Yogi. Tapasvi karmibhyo astadiko yogi. Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Therefore, practice dhyana yoga. This chapter is dhyana yoga, meditation. Practice dhyana yoga. It will take us to the goal swiftly, no wastage of effort. Then last sloka. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Concluding statement. Among even these yogins who practice meditation, jnana yoga, he who full of faith worships me, his inner self, Antaratma. God himself is the Antaratma. Absorbed in me, Him I deem the most integrated. Meme here means Vasudeva. In the 7th chapter, we will see Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. Vasudeva means Supreme Lord. People call him Vasudeva or Vishnu, or people call him Brahman, Supreme Reality, without name and form. That's our choice. What we call, how we visualize God, is our individual choice. But there is one reality, the innermost self of all, oneself, all different beings. He who meditates on that inner reality, oneself, that person reaches the goal. So we will just stop here. And if you have any questions, you can ask me now.
Swamiji, namaskaram. If a person meticulously does all types of puja every morning, but then every evening goes and gambles, plays cards and loses all the money, after death, where will they go?
He will reach such a person reach the goal. Any good deed, that general statement in 240, Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatem tata gacchati, any good deed that you do will take you to the goal. Nothing
Even
will
if
be wasted. Yeah.
Even all life, if you gambled and you were a victim of your vice.
Say it again.
Even if all life you were a victim of your vice and you gambled, like played cards and gambled your money off.
All life, if you do these practices, morning and evening?
No, Swamiji. Morning, you're very good. You do all types of puja and meticulously follow everything.
Yes.
But evening, you go to club and you play gamble with cards and all that and lose.
Absolutely, forget about it.
So all life,
if
you
gamble,
gamble,
all. You're putting
so what will happen
thoughts
to
and impurities, cleaning one side. You're just like pouring water in one side and letting the water flow on the other side. That won't work.
Where will that person go? To hell, or
you will go to Swarga? You will go to Swarga for the good deeds he has done, and your negative influences gathered in the club, etc. That will weigh against him. He won't reach the goal, but he can forget about it.
So everything is neutralized.
Samshuddha kil vishaha. That phrase came in 245. The person must maintain purity of mind. If you do all those games and everything, it will be counterproductive. So we should not be done. Not for spiritual seekers.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Okay. You can't combine both.
Right. Morning, you're meticulously religious.
Evening, whenever you do that kind of games and activities, very powerful negative influence will be there. It will nullify, cancel all the good deeds you have done. It won't work at all. Should never be done by spiritual speakers.
Thank you, Swamiji. Also, in your lecture today, you were telling about, you remember the previous punyas and all that you do and all that comes in Bhagavatam. Jadabharata stories, that only, like how he remembers his previous birth of a deer and all that. And finally, when he comes as Bharata, you know the story of Jadabharata, right, in Bhagavatam. That is where he remembers his previous birth and of how he got attached to a deer, and then he was born as a deer, and then finally when he is born as Bharata,
he was thinking about a deer at the time of the last birth, death time of death. Because whatever you think at the last moment, that's your destiny.
Right, but then, but because of the punyam, he remembers the good deeds, and when he takes a final birth as Bharata, he remembers, and this time he's very careful.
He has done a lot of good deeds, lot of tapasya.
Yes, that story came back to memory. So,
there is something else.
Yeah, Swamiji, I have a question, or maybe need some clarification. This is Devashish.
Devashish. Okay.
Yes. So you know the sloka just before the end, the 46. You know that the yogi is better than everybody else.
Karmi, Jnani, Tapasvi. Jnani means Shastra Panditya, scriptural knowledge, not Atma Jnana.
Okay.
Scriptural knowledge. People study scriptures and that is their main thing. That kind of scholarship will not take us very far. Scholarship is not necessary. Scholarship produces very limited result. If a person becomes a great scholar in Vedanta, studies scriptures, all kinds of Upanishads and Veda and Gita, everything he has studied, all books he has studied, memorizes and everything. That kind of scholarship produces a short-lived, limited benefit only. It helps, it's not bad, but that by itself is not enough. What benefits this scholarship brings? It brings fame, reward. People will write books and present papers in conferences, and again fame, medals will come. That is how long it will last. In old age, everything we study will be forgotten. Memory will be lost. No matter how much I had memorized, when I become old, I can't remember anything. I can't remember ordinary words. Some person's name whom I know for many years, I can't remember. So all the Shastra knowledge will evaporate. That's not useful.
Yeah, the other comment I wanted to hear from you, how you exactly look at it. So in Raja Yoga, Swamiji goes through all the things, and basically he's trying to say the yogis or those who practices yoga, that's superior to everything. And then, we go through this yogi and bhakta. So when you have a devotion or a devotee,
Bhakti is the greatest, they will say there. If you go to Karma Yoga, Swamiji says Karma Yoga is the greatest, he will say. So each is great. Whatever suits us, that we have to do. All the yogas are equally great in taking us to the goal, but everything is not suitable for everybody. So we have to decide, preferably with the help of a guru, what is the best path for it. The guru said, this is your Ishta Devata, this is your mantra, this is your path, do this. That is the best path for us. Otherwise, everything is available to everybody, but everything is not suitable for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Swamiji, Lord Krishna was also known as Vasudeva.
What did you say? I didn't hear what the question was.
Lord Krishna was also known as Vasudeva. Vasudeva,
yes. Vasudeva was son. Vasudeva was Krishna's father who brought him up.
Yes, he was, but sometimes Lord Krishna
Vasudeva
is also
was
called
Krishna's father. So Krishna is known as Vasudeva.
He is known as Vasudeva, yeah.
Just like Dasharatha was Rama's father, Rama was known as Dasharathi. Sita was Janaka's daughter, Sita was known as Janaki. So that's the way they convert father's name into a child's name by changing the vowel or configuration.
In this particular case, Vasudev has a different meaning also, right, Swamiji? This is Dwadasakshara Mantram. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It was there even before he was born.
Yeah, this is
basically it means
Krishna's name, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Salutations to Vasudeva Krishna.
Yeah, was born. That name was there even before Krishna Janma, because if you take Dhruva Charitram, Narada teaches this Dwadashakshara Mantram to Dhruva, and only by meditating on that, Dhruva gets the Dhruva Padam and darshan of Lord Narayana and all that. So that name, yes, it's the father of Krishna, but also existed before. It's a mantram that existed, and there's philosophy.
Timeline is not very clear. One person like Janaka comes in the Ramana, Janaka comes in the later, many centuries later. So don't go by strict chronological sequence. These things happen in a different way in our spiritual heritage.
So when we say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, are we remembering Lord Krishna?
Lord Krishna, yes.
Okay.
So in which yuga was Dhruva there, Swamiji, then? In which yuga was Dhruva there? Dhruva.
I don't remember the century when Dhruva was there. I'm not good in those kinds of historical things.
Okay, because in Bhagavatam it comes...
Which century Dhruva was there, what mantra he said. Those are interesting to some people. somehow I don't feel attracted to that kind of inquiry. Which
But
symbol
I've all,
should they
Swamiji,
a mantra.
Yeah, he was
We
born.
do our spiritual practice and reach our goal. That is what.
Right. I mean, in
we should be
Bhagavatam, before
interested in.
Dasamaskandam,
No, that kind of question you have to ask Swami Atmajnadananda. He studied philosophy in a university. I didn't.
Sorry, Swamiji.
Okay. No, I'm sorry because I don't know the answer to it.
No, I'm just now I'm curious to see, was Dhruva's Charitam before or Krishna's Charitam before? Like, so I thought.
I don't know, and it doesn't also interest me a great deal to try to know who was
Swamiji,
before, who was later.
I
It's not clear to
remember
me.
there seems to be some other etymology. I remember that Vasudeva, the Lord of the universe, Vasu or something, that leads to the Lord of the universe, not necessarily
Could be another meaning, maybe.
some meaning like that. And going to Dhruva, yeah, Dhruva Charitra is in the Krita Yuga, right in the beginning. That doesn't jive.
But
That's
there may be different meaning.
Thank you,
Same
Ji.
one.
Yeah.
That's what.
Swamiji, just one comment. See what you have said today, it is very nice that whatever good things we do this life, that will carry forward in the next life.
Nothing will be lost.
Right, nothing will be lost. So that's a very good positive thing.
Yeah.
But the question is, that means for one person, it could be hundreds of lives. For another person, it could be only 10, or some other person like Swami Vivekananda, maybe only 2 or 3 lives. So how does that determine? I mean, how
Depends upon how much we do in each lifetime.
Okay.
How much we add in each lifetime. If you do intense spiritual practice in one life, then you don't need many more lives.
Right. So this is
a little bit, then you have to spread it over many lifetimes.
So this is like a belief. We have to believe this thing, since Bhagavan Sri Krishna said.
It has been tested by numerous sages. They have experienced it.
Okay.
And that's what gives us motivation to proceed in our life.
All right.
There are pramanas, that means evidence. What is the evidence that this is true?
Right.
First of all, it is in a scripture.
Right.
And it comes from the mouth of the Lord, so it must be true. And secondly, the same thing comes in many other scriptures and is verified taught by many other teachers. Same thing they have taught independently, based upon their experience. When Sri Ramakrishna says that by repeating God's name you'll reach God, on what basis he said that one? Not by reading books, because by his own practice. Based on everything he taught was based upon his own direct experience in practice. He was not a scholar who read many books and gave lectures. So that is the motivation for us. Aptavakya pramana. Aptavakya means the person in whom we have faith, in whose truthfulness we have faith. When such a person says, then it has to be true. And many have experienced. He is not the only one who said that one. Many have said. So it must be true. And how do we know it is true? By doing it. If you doubt and don't do anything, you will not reach anywhere. If you are asking for someone for directions when you are driving, how do you know that the direction he gives is true? You have to drive and follow. If you stand there, they'll be standing there. If you doubt his words, gas station attendant says, go here, make a right at traffic light. You have 2 choices. You can either doubt his word and stand there, will be standing there all the time, or you can have faith and then start driving and follow, then you see that what is the
So it is a question of faith and belief, basically.
And faith depends based on understanding and truth. It's not something that somebody said. Many great sages have said the same thing. So it must be true.
Okay.
And how do you know it is true? By practicing only. If you don't do any practice, doubting it, then you will not go anywhere. You'll be in the same place, stagnant.
Right.
You want that, or you want to practice and make some progress?
Okay, thank you.
Swamiji, you said nothing good that you do is lost, but then at the same time, just now when she said in the morning he does puja, in the evening he goes and gambles, then you said you are canceling it.
Those are kamya karmas. Kamya karmas done asking for a particular thing, those are not very helpful. They are helpful to some extent, but not as a serious spiritual practice. We have
I mean,
to-
not for asking Swamiji, as a routine, as a karma, every morning do religious activities with so much devotion and faith, but every evening go gamble out and waste all the money
That
playing
is very
cards.
good. Will purify the mind, it will produce good result. Doing puja is very good.
So,
Everybody
so
cannot
that should not be
meditate.
lost. That should not be lost then, no matter what he does in the evening. That good should remain to his credit, right?
I didn't get the second part of your question.
Swamiji said that he will go to Swargaloka, enjoy the benefits of the good work in Swargaloka,
And
and
come
come
back.
back again to this world to become better eventually. That was what Swamiji was saying.
That's what it says in 40:41.
Yes, yeah.
When you do good deeds, you will go to those lokas where people who good deeds go and stay there for a long time until the stock of your punya lost. And then you come back to this world and born in a better family where you can continue your spiritual practice.
But do you
This
have to
will
face
come
the
in ninth chapter also, it will come later.
But do you have to face the consequences of bad action also,
Of
and not
course.
just?
Yes, both. Every action we do will have consequences, good or bad. Good, good, bad, bad, none escape the law. Swamiji wrote in Song of Sannyasi.
Swami, that means he is not able to control his senses.
So
The
from-
Control his
good
senses
deeds will
in the
not
evening.
cancel the bad deeds.
Yeah, in the evening. Morning is spiritual, but the evening he can't control his senses and just he is tempted to go.
That a person will not reach the goal.
I see. So he will not. Yeah. So he will not benefit for the morning prayers.
He will get the benefit of both. He will get the result of both. He will get the result of good deeds he did. He will get the result of bad deeds he did.
Oh, okay.
They will not cancel each other. You will have to experience the fruit of both
if you
good and
keep
bad activities.
if you keep praying forgiveness for bad deeds, would you be forgiven?
You will have to experience the fruit of both good and bad deeds. You can't escape any. Every action will produce a result that you have to go through. Good or
Actually,
bad.
I'm
I don't
reminded of a
understand- I
beautiful.
don't understand the man doing puja in the morning, going to club and doing that. I don't think it's a hypothetical situation.
No, no,
Swamiji,
it's not. It's
in
not like.
Kathamrita,
Yeah, that's not
I
a
read
useful discussion. Let us stop it.
Yes, Swamiji, it's not hypothetical, it happened, that's what I'm saying. But anyway, I'm reminded of Sundarakanda when you were talking about this, where Hanuman goes to Ravana and says, just because you did so much Shiva Puja and everything, and you have all these Shiva's blessings, don't think that, that good will override your bad of you kidnapping Sita Pirati like this. So even the good and bad will not equate. One has to face the consequences of both. This is what Hanuman tells Ravana when he goes to Lanka and finds Sita and gives a sandesam to this Ravana.
Yeah. Indranil, you had something to say?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I read in Kathamrita,
Yeah.
something like somebody asked a similar question to Ramakrishna Dev,
Mm.
like a Gyani, if he does a bad thing, then Ramakrishna told, if I remember correctly, like if he really is a Gyani, he will not do those things, bad things.
True.
He never
It's a hypothetical
take a
situation. Now,
misstep.
somebody doing puja and everything in the morning and going to bad places in the evening. That is not usually, it doesn't usually happen. If a person
Swamiji,
has
it's
that
not
kind of good
hypothetical.
sense, why would he do that one? So let us
Swamiji,
stop
it's
the
not
discussion here.
hypothetical.
It's time, it's now already 3:50.
Understood.
Yeah,
Let
it's
us
not
continue next
hypothetical,
time.
Swamiji. Yeah, it's not hypothetical, Swamiji. I saw growing up this all
Maybe
my
there
life.
are
So.
people like that, but we don't have to discuss that one. We are not of that type. Okay.
Swamiji, listen to my comprehension of 46 and 47 and tell me if I am correct. A yogi who meditates on God is superior to hermits, monks, scholars, and ritual performers. So, Arjuna, make every effort to be on the spiritual platform and practice divine order.
Mm.
Of all the yogis, those with great faith abide in me and render service with love and devotion. I affirm that those rare yogis are the highest of all the yogis, and with them I have special union.
Very good.
Does it fall in place?
I right now I don't want to comment on it. It's getting late. It's 3:15. I have
Oh.
something else to do. I will stop it here. Next time we'll continue the discussion. Next class.
Okay. All right.
Let me say the closing prayer.
Mhm.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may all be happy. May all be free from diseases and other problems. May all realize what is noble, auspicious, and dharmic. May follow that. May there be no ill will among people. May there be harmony amongst all beings. And may no one be subject to misery. Om, peace. May there be peace and harmony, joy in our hearts. Adhyatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. Adi Bhautika Shanti. May there be peace everywhere in nature. Adi Daivika Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all. We'll continue the discussion next time. Now it is getting late for everyone.